Thank you, Madam Chair. And my friend from Colorado is going to think he's listening to a broken record here because I'm going to repeat something that I said during the credit union discussion. And that is that a healthy financial ecosystem is one that offers consumers competition and choice. And that's why we need community banks. That's why we need regional banks and globally systemically important large banks for American competitiveness. It's also why we need credit unions and finance companies, non-bank lenders, financial technology firms, and yes, industrial loan corporations. And I'm sympathetic to some of the concerns of the authors of the Close the ILC Loophole Act. Specifically, large technology companies and commercial firms should not be able to control a full-service FDIC-insured bank without being subject to comparable prudential supervision and regulation. This goes to my point about a level playing field, allowing large technology firms to provide banking services, gaining access to FDIC-insured deposits, and vast amounts of consumer financial data without being subject to the same information security and prudential standards that apply to regulated bank holding companies could create a regulatory imbalance in favor of industrial, commercial, and technology firms, placing traditional banks at an unfair disadvantage and ultimately reducing competition and choice. And that's not what we want. That said, I believe that this bill, Mr. Garcia's bill, the Close the ILC Loophole Act, goes too far in restricting ILCs. In fact, it effectively eliminates all new ILCs. So it's just more of the same from my Democrat colleagues. It's anti-innovation and anti-technology. It's a solution in search of a problem. If we're having an honest discussion about ILCs, we would recognize that most ILCs have a very narrow use by companies to meet specific needs of their customers. In fact, companies looking to offer new financial products have consistently looked to mechanisms other than ILCs to reach consumers because ILCs are not a good fit outside a narrow set of circumstances. Effectively eliminating new ILCs, as this bill would do, sends the wrong message to technology and novel solutions that can reach underserved consumers. So this is not about leveling the playing field. It's an example of committee Democrats creating roadblocks for fintechs to reach underserved communities. Let's not forget that these are the same members of Congress that blocked bank partnerships with fintechs just last summer. If that wasn't enough, this bill would fundamentally change the role of FSOC to that of a microprudential regulator. This is what my friend, the gentleman from Michigan, was talking about. This is a level of burden not seen elsewhere in the financial system. What are the specific concerns that necessitate this level of scrutiny? I think transforming FSOC into a super regulator in this way is not what is authorized in Dodd-Frank. Committee Republicans said last week that if Democrats didn't like something, they would toss it to FSOC to regulate. Well, here is a perfect example of that. There is no evidence that ILCs pose a systemic risk to the financial system, at least not yet. And so we don't need to change FSOC's mandate. And this bill is unnecessary. If we are serious about financial inclusion and reaching unbanked and underbanked communities, we should be embracing novel ways of extending credit and deposit products. For these reasons, I'm opposed to this bill. I'm open to some kind of measure in the future that would create that level playing field that we're all seeking, but this is not that solution. And for that reason, I'm opposed, and I yield back.